welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are doing another Get Fit With Me series yoga edition, and we are reviewing Black Yogi Nico Marie again. I know y'all getting sick of me with this, I already know, but with this one, we're going to combine two practices. We're going to do something a little bit older and something newer together to make it a thing. And so one of them we're reviewing is called Self-Honoring Yoga. That's a 15-minute practice. And then the other we're going to be doing is Yoga for Emotional Balance. And that's a 10-minute practice. So we're going to combine it, make it a 25-minute practice, and then we'll review both of them. I will probably review them individually, but without further ado, let's get into it. So today we're going to start the practice in a comfortable kneeling position. And once we are in this kneeling position, we are going to then work on our breathing, and we're going to do some arm movements, some rotations. As you can see with the start of the practice, I was not able to stay in the kneeling position the whole entire time. So if the kneeling position does not serve you best, then I would suggest doing a nice comfortable seated position of your choosing. I did just go with what she had because that's where she started. And yeah, there's that. Once we do this rotation both sides, we are then going to put our legs closer to each other, and then we're going to go into a kneeling position, and from the kneeling position, raising our arms up high, and then from there into a child's pose. And we're going to be doing this kind of in a sequence, as a flow, not necessarily sequence, but as a flow. So from that high kneeling position to the child's pose and back up. And we're going to do that a couple times. After we finish doing that, and I believe we did it like 4 or 5 times, we then are going to make our way back to the tabletop position to transition right into a downward facing dog. And within that downward facing dog, we're going to pedal the dog and stay in this for a couple breaths. And then from there, we will transition to a seated position where we have our legs as wide as the yoga mat and our knees bent or our legs bent. And then we're going to then make our way into a pretzel pose, if you will. So our arms underneath our legs into a pretzel. Once we have done this pretzel pose, and I should mention within the pretzel pose, you have the option of straightening your legs, which is what I did here. We then are going to make our way into a reverse tabletop position. And we're going to hold on to this for a couple breaths. And this is a great way to stretch out your shoulders. And then from there, we will transition to another pose. After the reverse tabletop, we are going to slowly come out of it, but keep our legs stretched out a little bit to kind of stretch our shoulders after we made that movement. And then from there, we're going to then put our knees into our chest, lying down, squeezing it right into our chest. And from there, we are then going to do a twist with our knees being up, or our legs being up with our knees bent. First to the right and then to the left. And from here, after doing this, then this is going to be kind of close to where we're concluding the practice. Lastly, we will close with either Shavasana or corpse pose, or if you prefer the comfortable seated position meditation pose to conclude the practice. And that does conclude this one, and then we'll go on to the next one after you hear my review from about this one. Hi, so that does conclude the practice for today. Part one of the practice for today. As we know, this is a video where I'm combining two practices into one. And how I'm going to rate this first one, I am going to give it a solid 9. What I did like was we started in more of like a kneeling position. But more of a, not quite kneeling, a little bit more of like we're in it, like we're a kneeling seated position is probably what I would say. If you notice, I wasn't able to keep that pose for overly too long. So I did go to the alternate of a comfortable seated position right around the time where I didn't know that we were going to be concluding and being in that kneeling position. So I probably could have fucked it out and stayed a little bit longer. But for those, if you're someone who sits down a lot, or if you're a runner, or if you're just like a athlete that uses like your fast twitch muscles, so that would be sprinters, people who play like football or basketball, like anytime where you like sprint a lot, it hurts to sit like that for too long. At least for me, it did. So I did modify it towards the end. And again, you always want to like listen to your body, do what's best for you. So that was a little bit of a variation at the end, at the very beginning of the video, where we started in that kneeling position. So I do want to call that out. But yeah, besides that, I did enjoy the practice. It was a little bit more of a low-key practice. I wasn't sure what to expect, and that is one thing about Nico Marie that I've noticed. Actually, a lot of the yogi instructors on YouTube lately, maybe with the changes in season, they're kind of, closing the year off where we're doing a little bit more chilled practices, because I know we're going to be ramping it back up at the beginning of the year, probably more on the beginner's level and then working our way up. But I am noticing that it's definitely a trend with different yogi instructors. It's not just her. I'm noticing that with a lot of people. But yeah, so that concludes the first part of this video. Well, stay tuned and let's do that second routine. In this next practice, we are going to start the practice in the comfortable seated position and meditation pose. I'm getting in touch with our breath and getting ready for today's practice. In this comfortable seated position, we are then going to do our version of a cat and cow within this seated position, getting our stretch on, and we're going to be doing that for a couple of breaths before we do eventually make our way to a tabletop position. From this tabletop position, from this seated position, we did make our way to that tabletop position. We are really only in that tabletop position to transition really quickly into an extended child's pose. And we're going to hold on to that extended child's pose for a couple of breaths. And then from there, we're going to then do a stretch from the right in the extended child's pose, and then a stretch to the left, and then back to the center to our next pose. there, the 6 inch child's pose, we then are going to make our way back into that tabletop position very briefly into a low lunge, first to the right. And this is going to be the beginning of one of our sequences that we're going to be doing a similar movement on the opposite side. So from this low lunge, we then are going to make our way into a half split where we're stretching our hamstring. And then from there, we're going to do this transition where I did mention I kind of did mess this up, but I corrected it on the opposite side. Anyway, sorry. We are from there going to then do a rotation where we end up in a side lunge. And you can do the side lunge as low as you can go or as high as you can go. As you can tell, your girl ain't that flexible, so I can't really go super low. And that's really going to depend on how tight or how loose your hips are. And then we will make our way back into that low lunge and then doing a similar sequence on the opposite side once we have done that lunge. Once we have done this lunge on both sides, we are going to make our way back to that tabletop position into a comfortable seated position, meditation pose. And that will pretty much conclude the practice. This one was only 10 minutes, so it's a very quick and easy practice for today. Hi, so that concludes the second video of the two-part practices that we combined. And this one was the yoga for emotional stability, I believe is what it's called. Emotional support, I believe. It was a 10-minute yoga video. And I liked it. So we're going to give it a solid 9. It wasn't anything special. What's stopping me from giving it a 10, because for those who followed my channel before, y'all already know when there's rotation involved, I get confused. So the first part of it, when I did the rotation, towards the end of it, I messed it up. And I had a feeling I was doing it wrong, but I couldn't tell because I wasn't facing what she was doing. But then the second time I did it right. So, but it was no harm, no foul. It wasn't really much of it wasn't much of a stretch difference with that, but I knew about it and I could tell. So if you guys go do the practice yourselves, definitely follow what she's doing and not what I did, because I did not do that first part right at all. But that's why I also made it a 9. Also the 10 minutes flew by so quickly. Like I didn't even realize it was 10 minutes. And for those, I'm gonna unveil a little bit of something. This was my 4th practice today and it didn't feel that bad. Just saying. But yeah, but that does conclude the video. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. Hopefully you enjoy me combining it versus it just being one video. I figured since they're both shorter practices, we could just put them together. Anyway, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and I will see you next time. Bye.